Welcome back to the Mark Robles Show. And today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Western Conference Finals and Eastern Conference Finals, some things that I noticed, and then, of course, some predictions for Boston Celtics, Dallas Mavericks, NBA Finals. First things first, I did not expect Dallas to even get past the first round. I must have forgot who Kyrie and Luka Doncic were. I also didn't realize how effective Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively were going to be. I mean, of course, we'd seen it in the regular season. They provide the perfect role for a guy like Luka Doncic who can do whatever. He just has a guy he can toss it up to and be in the dunk zone and put it in the basket. Very efficient as well. They do it easy. I mean, Luka Doncic makes it easy for them. But wow, I thought the Clippers were gonna knock him off. I thought Westbrook, PG, Harden, Terrence Mann, Zubac. I thought they were a solid squad. Right? I didn't think. I thought they would have Dallas in six. Honestly. So clearly, I'm not respecting Luka's game enough and Kyrie's game enough. So I need to put some more respect on their name. And the second thing is, Daniel Gafford and Dirk Lively really changed that team, completely changed that team. And then of course PJ Washington, who you can't forget about. I think he's hit the most corner threes out of anyone in the playoffs this year. I think he's doubled that. I think the announcers in one of the games I was watching, I think he'd hit 36 playoff corner threes, and the only person behind him was at like 17. So he was playing out of his mind. Amazing pickup. That has to be one of the best trade deadline pickups, Gafford and PJ Washington, I've ever seen. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't even that they're star players. It's the fact that you have those guys that are role players, obviously, but then you have guys that play their role to such a good level, and people don't under. Oh, let me move this forward a little bit. And people underestimate that. They completely sleep on guys like PJ, Daniel, Derek Lively. I was sleeping. And it's not even that the Dallas Mavericks were playing bad in the regular season. I just didn't think they were at that level of an NBA championship. And they've completely, I mean, I'm assuming me and many other people have been absolutely shocked. And it's not even shocked by the fact that Luka and Kyrie play the way they play, but it's the surrounding team. Because you can have great players, it doesn't matter. But if you don't have that surrounding cast that's going to be able to play their role and do what they're supposed to do, Ray Allen on the Miami Heat, on the Boston Celtics, his role, knock down threes, catch the ball, shoot it every single time. And guys like that are what propel great teams to be greater. And I got to commend PJ Washington, his consistency on such a high stakes stage and being able to consistently make that shot, that's not easy. All those eyes on you every single time. Confidence is through the roof. PJ Washington has earned his stripes, and I think he is probably the most valuable player, of course, besides Luka and Kyrie on the Mavericks, just because he adds that extra firepower, and they really need that. And we can't forget about Derek Jones either, because that boy, his game has always been good, but he's also developed more of that corner three. And we've always known Derek Jones to be a high flyer, not necessarily known for his jumper, but a guy like him who knows his role, but can also add things into his game depending on who's around him, that's so valuable. And I think we've seen this playoffs that the Mavericks team, they play well together, they respect each other, they know each other do well, and a guy like Luka will find you anywhere. A guy like Kyrie, we've seen Kyrie, he's got the vision. People forget that he could find you open because he's always, he's flashy, he dribbles, it's what he's known for. But in this playoffs, we've seen him demonstrate just how well he does everything. He's not a single dimensional guy. One thing I did notice though was in that Minnesota Timberwolves and Dallas Mavericks series, there was two things I noticed. The first thing was that on defense, the Mavs like to give Luka a little bit of a break. They don't really make him switch when it comes to a big man screen. We saw Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert kind of mess with Luka a little bit down low when Kyle Anderson would be checked by Luka, and then Rudy would set a screen on Luka, Gafford would switch, or whoever it was on him, on Gobert would switch, and then Luka was left down low with Rudy Gobert. So I think that's a big thing. That when it comes to the switch, he's a little bit of a liability down there, but of course he's going to be a liability when you're playing against a bigger guy. You're not a big man. You don't practice. He's probably not practicing his post defense, but it's going to happen. It's just a mismatch. Something I noticed. So I think other teams might try and attack that as well because they're going to know that, well, not other teams, but the Celtics, I mean, they don't really have anyone to attack that. I mean, I guess they have Al Horford to attack that with, but they really don't put Horford in the post at all. And I don't think Porzingis is coming back either for the rest of the series or the rest of the playoffs. So that's out of the question. Second thing I noticed, Timberwolves, Cat and Anthony Edwards were not. I mean, okay. I'm going to narrow it down to Cat because as we see here, Cat in game one against Dallas had 19 points in 40 minutes, only 6 for 16. 11 rebounds, 8 assists. He did good on the rebounds, he did good on the assists, but you might. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Anthony Edwards' stats. Ooh, okay. Oh, him and. See, yeah, there we go. All right. So in game one against Dallas, Karl-Anthony Towns only had 16 points on 6 for 20 shooting. 7 rebounds, 2 assists. You can't have that out of a star player. You just can't have that. It's unacceptable. Next game, 15 on 26 minutes, 4 for 16 shots on 16, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Can't have that. Game 3, 14 points, 5 for 18, 11 rebounds. Yeah, he dropped a double-double, but it was weak. Game 4, he has 25 points on 9 for 13. See, that efficiency is what he needs. And I just don't think Cat is as consistent as he could be. Because also in that Denver series, we saw he wasn't really the deciding factor at all. In a couple of the games we saw, he only had 14 points on 4 for 7, 13 points on 5 for 18, 10 points on 4 for 10. And the funny thing is, I saw a graphic on Instagram that was in 2016, I believe. And 40% of GMs would have picked Karl-Anthony Towns to start their franchise around. And I think anybody at that time would have probably picked him as well, besides, of course, KD, LeBron, who were the other two that were picked the most. He's the ideal big man nowadays. He can stretch the floor. He's strong. He can move. He's good in the pick and roll. He can play defense. But we've seen that the offensive firepower that we thought he had, it's not that he doesn't have it, but he doesn't have the consistency. And that's where it just kind of, you can't have that. You can't have your arguably number one option, depending on the night, shooting like that. Only making 4 shots out of however many it was, 16. You just can't have that. And I mean, it's just known. That's not going to bring you to the next level. That's not going to bring you to a championship. Anthony Edwards is not going to be enough. We've seen guys like LeBron James will their team to a finals. And okay, I'm not going to shade that Cavs team because they're low-key better than people give them credit for. But LeBron James still willed that team to the finals. And there just wasn't a second option that was consistent enough to give you that constant, like 25 and 10, whether that be points, assists, rebounds, wherever he's having an alley. Draymond, we see Draymond, his impact is felt. He might only give you 9, 9, and 9, which is a pretty realistic stat for him, but it's his presence and what he brings to the court. He's going to bring it every single time. So consistent at what he does. Whether it's kicking you in the balls, biting you, whatever he's going to do, punching you, sending you to the hospital, whatever it is Draymond does, he's going to bring it. And Cat, we've seen some games he'll explode. He's 4 for 4 from 3. He's getting to the paint. He's dribbling. Then the next game, it's like, okay, where'd that go? We need that right now. And we saw Anthony Edwards' frustration. He was mic'd up, and he was saying, how just pass me the effing ball, blah, 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 getting a little feisty with his teammates. I mean, I get it. If I'm the number one option, and I'm supposed to lead this team on the offensive side of the ball, I better touch the ball every single possession. I don't care if it's me catching the ball in a cut and swinging it back out, because as long as the ball touches my hands, that possession, I can't say they're not passing me the rock. I can't say if this isn't happening, that's not happening. No, the ball is in my hands. So I think every single possession, the ball needs to be in Anthony Edwards' hands, because there's times where in the fast break or whatever's happening, yeah, the opportunity isn't necessarily there. But we have seen times where Cat will just throw up a 3 really quick. And he doesn't shoot a lot of 3s. At most 6, 7 attempts a game. But sometimes you got to be aware of the shot clock. You got to be aware of who's on your team. And if you're not really playing as well as you could, get to the cup. You're a big man. Okay, but I'm drifting off my point. The fact that Anthony Edwards needs the ball in his hand every possession. If he doesn't touch the ball every single time down the court, there's a problem with the Timberwolves offense. And he usually touches the ball every time. He usually gets what he wants. He usually does his thing. But it's just a point you got to touch on. And then, we've checked on the Dallas and the Timberwolves, and once again, I didn't think Dallas was gonna make it, but congrats to them. They earned it. Now we got Celtics, Mavericks, Celtics in 7, in my opinion. I got Celtics in 7. I think it'll be a really good series. I don't think Luka and the Mavs are gonna go down easy. I mean, they're a great team. Seriously, they're a great team. But I just don't see anybody in the NBA right now beating the Celtics in a 7-game series. They're too good. Jaylen Brown has proven himself multiple times. Same thing with Jason Tatum. I used to think, I said it a couple podcasts ago, I didn't think they were enough. But I was just riding the 8. I wasn't looking at what they were doing. And yeah, everyone's going to have an off game. It's life. So whenever there's an off game, it's exasperated with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the Celtics because they're so good. They're held to such a high standard. When you're held to such a high standard, your criticism level is beyond. If your standard is the moon, your criticism is going to be beyond galaxies, like especially online with everyone who wants to hate. So I fell victim to that, and now I've seen that Tatum wants it, bro. Jaylen Brown wants it. Horford wants it. And they got that. I stand by this. Drew Holiday was a key to this. They needed that NBA championship mentality, someone who's been there, someone who's won it, someone who's been around greatness to be like, yo, I know y'all got it like that. Like, you guys can hoop, but I've been there, and I've seen it, and I've done it. They needed that. What's it called? Kind of like a vet to a rookie. They needed that mentality. They needed that substance to the team. And now they've got it. Derek White playing great basketball. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, my boy Pritchard, Cornette, the guy Sam Hauser. They're just playing their role. They're doing really good. And I give a lot of credit to Joe Mazzulla. He is a very composed coach. He has done a very good job of working with young superstars. And I also give credit to Brown and Tatum. They're very humble guys. They're not they don't really have an attitude against them that seems like they would go to their coach. I mean, once again, I don't know the locker room, but from the outside perspective, it seems like they respect Joe. They respect what he says. He clearly knows basketball. He has utilized so many options in the perfect way. Tatum and Brown, of course, have the green light, but he's been able to orchestrate the squad in a very, very professional and championship coach kind of way. And I don't think he gets enough recognition for that. So I give props to Mazzulla for working the squad like that. And that's about all. The Marco Black Show.